you have to have purpose with everything that you do. You can't just be out here just drifting through life, seeing it from a worldly view. At Preston, what it's all we talk about, worldview versus Christ view. Like, we're not following popular trends. We're doing what the word says, and that's what we're gonna do. Here's what it is. Like, this is what Jesus said we should do. This is what we're doing. No questions. And I feel like we're in an age where on social media, like, they question everything about the Bible. It's like, dude, just do what it says. It says what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like, I don't understand. Like, we make life so complicated because we want to do what we want to do.
Turn on the lamp, I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global, I'm in with the champs. I sit at the Oval, they told me I can't, Turn on the lamp, I don't go postal till God give his stamp. We going global.
Welcome back to Turn on the Lamp podcast. This guest I have for y'all today is a special treat. He goes by the name of Vekedric Vaughns. He's a guy that, man, if you grew up in Mesquite, Texas, everybody wanted to be like Vekedric. From the football playing, it was just like he was a role model for a lot of us. But, man, I appreciate you giving your time, opening up your space for us on this platform. And I'm excited about the words of your testimony that you're about to bring forth.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me, man. It's crazy. It's been a long journey, but seeing you grow up, you know what I'm saying, and with your brother and everything, you look just like him still. but no, man, I'm happy that you reached out.
For sure. So let's talk about you in a nice spot, bro. I ain't gonna lie, you blessed and highly favored, like they call it. So what is this space and season that God has you in? I know off camera you was telling me about you God opening a door for another opportunity through your career, right? So kind of talk about what season that God has you in life.
I would say, man, he's definitely been preparing me for something greater. I started off at Fidelity. Well, I was at New York Life, and I'm transitioned to Fidelity in the finance world, and I took a major pay cut. And I do live in a nice space, but God really had to humble me and teach me how to live with almost little to nothing. I was living off my savings along with my salary. Wasn't much, the least I've ever made, but I made it work. And then now on the other side, I got a nice opportunity at JP Morgan that's putting me back up. And so now, knowing that, it's like, okay, I don't have to, buy this, go here, go there, and just spend a lot of money. Everything for me is for the kingdom now. So I'm just, even with my work at that I'll be doing at JP Morgan, kind of like what we're doing here, just relationship building. It's for the kingdom. Everything is kingdom driven. So it's not going to be like, I have to, really don't even want to spend money no more, after living like I've lived the past, 2 years at Fidelity, it's been a little tough.
Yeah. So I like what you said about relationships, right? The importance of building these relationships. So for a younger guy around, our age group, money is really highlighted in, whether it's society tells you to chase it, or lots of times a lot of men, they identify themselves as how much money do I have, or how's my career jumping off. But you said there is a season of time where God kind of made you scale back from your spending and stuff. Talk about the humility that takes of kind of like putting off that pride and ego and saying, God, if this is really where you want to take me, I have to get out of the way of that process.
Man, that's big. That's big the way you put that, because that's exactly what he was doing. I know when I first got into this journey in finance, and then also building my faith and coming back to it, my mentor, Scott Turner, he's Secretary Scott Turner now, over HUD for the United States of America. He's on Trump cabinet.
Wow.
I remember we was talking back in 2022 or 2023, early 2023. He was like, V, when you advance in the kingdom, God will give you an unlimited purse. And I was like,
say that again, bro.
When you advance in the kingdom, God will give you an unlimited purse. And so I'm like, what does that mean? He's gonna provide everything that you need to be successful, but it got to be for the kingdom. And so ever since then, everything has been kingdom focused. So that's why I was able to, go through the humbling journey at, taking that journey at Fidelity, but it was also to get my financial licenses though. So yeah, I had to take a step back financially, but I was actually gaining stability during that, for the future. And so, I mean, I walked in it. I got it, in my notes. Like I always, and it's ingrained in me about, you're doing everything for the kingdom. God gonna give you unlimited purse, and just being able to stay here. I was able to have early success in trading in my early 20s and saved up a bit. So that's why been able to be here for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So with you, I guess you can say you're doing better than most people your age, right? Financially. What keeps you humble? Like what reminds you of, okay, it's God that provided everything that I have, but realistically, like you could flaunt, you could boast, right? What keeps you humble and grounded as a Vekedric?
Man, that's a good question. I wouldn't. Well, where we coming from, where we come from, yeah, I've been doing pretty well for myself. But it's like when I honestly got to Prestonwood at late 2022, being around those guys and seeing how humble they were, and them telling me like just the true value of why we're here, and that just forming my great mentors up there at Prestonwood, man, they're all humble. They all got, they're all well off, but you would never tell, and it just really being around that type of crowd, it really, opened my eyes like, okay, I don't need to have this nice thing. I don't need to, you know, buy this just to feel a certain way, and it's like that mindset, growing up, how we grew up, when you got it, I work hard for this, so I'm gonna go spend it. Nah, it's like how I'm gonna it's like you make the money, how can I keep the money? It's not about how much you put out, it's about how much you keep in. And once I really figured that out, that's when I started to, you know, everything started to open up for me and I can do whatever I want. But it's because I still got the money. When I took a pay cut at Fidelity, I had money in the bank account to actually still, sustain myself rather than, you know, even though I had a lot of money, I could have still been traveling. I could have still been, you know, just
living
doing
your best life.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I could have, but I'm actually living in my, a nice place where that's where my money is going towards, like, and so I just value that rather than, really trying to, like you said, boast or flaunt. Like I don't do that's just not me anymore. Like, well, I don't say I never was like that. I was always humble, but I did in my early 20s when I had early success. I was traveling, I was doing, living my best life, but I didn't got that done in my early 20s rather than, I'm 30 now. So it's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you talked about mentorship, bro. We talked about the importance of gravitating towards not only wise people in your age group, but as the Bible said, a wise person seeks counsel from many advisors, and particularly older mentors, right?
Yeah.
You being at Prestonwood and you talking about the mentorship that God allowed you to receive in that instance, why is that so important for young men and particularly men trying to really grow in their faith?
Being a real man of God, coming from my background, it's like you really don't. I really didn't see the consistency of, how man of God is, and so going there, from day one when I walked through the front door, they set me on the front row. First day I went there and I was sitting next to, he's a, senior associate pastor, Dr. T, and I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know who this guy was, but I sat next to him. Next thing you know, I'm in the back. I joined the church, and I told them, hey, I want to get, rededicate my faith, I don't have any structure right now. And I got connected with the young adults. Next thing you know, I'm playing basketball with all of the pastors and worship leaders and stuff, and they connected me with Ron Kelly. He's over the foundation of the church. Executive director of the foundation of the church of Prestonwood, and like that guy, when I tell you he's single-handedly changed my life, like just the consistency in him pouring into me. And also all of them, like I said, Scott Turner, Dr. Teague, Ron Murphy's one of the founders of the church. Those guys really from day one believed in my vision and supported me and never judged me for, how I came in or, what I'm trying to do or what I look like, because it's a diverse church, but they really, accepted me with open arms. And I see, I see I can see at Prestonwood, and also I'm the pastor, Dr. Graham, great guy. Like everything that they do, I see it, what they do for the community. And so when I was choosing a church, it's like that's what I looked at. I see what they're doing for the youth.
Yeah.
I see, all the retreats and all the things that they're putting on for the church, and it's like, dang, like they're really doing God's work here. It's a difference.
Yeah, they're
It's not
bringing their faith outside of the building.
right,
Exactly.
right. And so it's like when I was there, like I looked up, I didn't even know. I looked up, and it was a year I ain't never missed church. Like they told me, they had to come to me. They was like, "Hey, V, you were consistent. Like, what's going on? Like, what? How can we help you? We see you, young guy here. We know you went to Baylor, play football, but like you're here consistently. Men's Bible study Friday mornings. Young adults group. I was there on Thursdays, and then on Sundays, never missed a Sunday. And then next thing you know, I'm when I told you I joined the church, it's called a decision encourager. I'm a decision encourager now. I serve at the church 2 times a month that they schedule me, and I'm the one who help people come to faith and ask them if they want to, join the church or they need someone to pray for them and stuff like that. I was on the other side of that, and now I'm serving, and it's like, a big person with Sean Callan and Shivers, like those. It's just a whole group of really godly men, and you can feel the presence of God in their love that they share to people. Like it's genuine.
Yeah.
It's not like, what they gonna get from me. They they really, really want to help.
Exactly.
And so that's why I don't never want to leave that church, because it's like like I said, the structure, the mentorship is there. Like and like you said, God does says that seek wise counsel. When I've been doing that, I was doing it at Baylor, like meeting the right people.
Yeah.
Meeting the right people to change your life. And
absolutely.
It has gotten me out of a lot of situations, as far as the way my mindset and the way I see life in general.
That really kind of changes the landscape of our prayers. When you have a heart that is intentionally trying to seek the Lord, I feel like you pray differently. Like I remember one time where I hit a point in my life where I'm like looking around like, man, I really need some older guys to lean on, because we both came from the same background of not having a father figure in our life. We were blessed to be surrounded by coaches and, older mentors that way. But having someone, like you said, that you can truly walk this thing out with, like seeing how they live, seeing how they interact with others. How was the sport in the avenue of football, how was that critical to your development as a person as well?
I mean, without them, I remember 5th grade, I'm playing for Texas Raiders, like select team, in DFW area. I remember 5th grade, my coach, we watching film in the 5th grade, watching tapes, VCR. Like we playing against teams in Houston, out of state. Coach said something to me, and I said something back. He was like, "Vaughns, you need to learn how to take constructive criticism." I'm like, what is that? I'm in 5th. I don't, what? But it's still ding to me, like, he did that at a young age. And now it's like, then you go to high school, middle school, high school, connecting with those coaches. And like I said, the AD, Cody Groves, he's played a vital part. Same thing. He would coach me hard. I learned how to get coached hard from a young age. When you're being corrected, it's not that you're doing bad. It's how can you get better, you know?
Yeah.
And so that those men and how the way they groomed me, it's transferred to every aspect of my life. Like I said, I mean, my dad was there, but you know, he had a second family, so it was kind of hard to juggle. My mom and them had 3 kids by 19. You know, so they was doing their thing while we're growing up, and so coaches, they played a very vital part. I was spending the night over little league coaches, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Like,
Yeah.
you know, this is just how it was, and all of those coaches really, really played a pivot, a really, really huge part in my journey.
There's this memory I remember, bro.
What you doing?
You was playing for Agnew. And bro, I kid you not, I remember being at the game. My brother was on the same team, but I remember they handed you the ball, bro. You shook the first 2 defenders. You reverse fields, shook the next 2, and then cut up. And I was like, bro, this dude did me. At that moment, like, it's like all the kids, like, we all was looking like, man, that's Verkedric. And then I remember after the game, you came by, you know, I think you were speaking to maybe it been your mom, but you made a intentional, I don't know if you noticed or not, but you was very intentional on giving a high five to all of the kids in the stand. And I'm like, man, like that really stuck with me, not really knowing at that moment, but I'm like, man, like he's aware of the calling and the sort of platform that he has, right? So how did you leverage that football platform? You go on to Baylor, right? You're in the limelight of being one of the kids from Mesquite, Texas, and your background that has made that pinnacle of career. How did you handle that platform, and how did you dictate how you were going to use your influence to the youth?
Man, that's crazy. You remember that, because that was a long time ago,
Long
man.
time,
Agnew,
yeah.
that's middle school, man.
Yeah.
It's, you know, my mom and my grandma, you know, they always been in the church, and showing that humility. They always installed it in me, but I've always been one of the guys that serves first. Like that's just been in me, you know. And I've always been big in my faith. But at that moment, I really didn't realize what I was doing. I was just being me, you know, being a child of God, and I know the next generation, you know, like I know what I was as a kid. You know, I didn't have, you know, just everything that I really wanted. I lived a, you know, a good life. At that moment, it was in middle school that I knew I was gonna, you know, be something in football.
Yeah.
Like the coach was like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to start going up to high school, training with them and stuff like that. But it's like going to Baylor. Even at Baylor, like you go in there, you're not the best guy on the team anymore.
Yeah.
So going in there like that, it's like, okay, what can I do to set me apart? You know, now you look up, you know, I wrote that letter. Now that you sent it by Agnew, I wrote that letter in the 8th grade, Coach Craig class, said I want to go to Baylor and I want to be a leader. And it's like, well, leader, what is leadership? Serving. That's all leadership is. They got to see you doing it. And so in 8th grade, God had that testimony for me, and me not even knowing, like, I didn't even think I was gonna go to Baylor. I just wrote that because I hate UT. Didn't want to go to SMU. I just wrote Baylor because that's the only college campus I ever been on.
Yeah.
Because my brother played playoff game there, I think in high school, but didn't even know that was my calling. You know, it was there a long time ago, already written. And so when I get to Baylor, it's like now I'm the guy that, you know, people ask the plays to, just need to talk, want to go do some extra drills. Like I'm serving, helping any way that I can, and it never changed since you know, my middle school days. And it's just that's just the type of guy that I've never been a guy that just boast. And you know, I let my talks do the play and let people talk for me,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, but I've always never been ashamed of my faith too, because Jesus, got persecuted for demonstrating his faith all over. Well, there was times in middle school, in high school, and in college where like my teammates, they will make fun of me because I made a worship video and posted it on Instagram or something like that, or Facebook or MySpace at the time. But it was like I always, from a young age, gave God his thanks for everything. Always.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's never changed. And I look at it now, and those same guys that were so-called, they weren't making fun of it, they was making jokes and stuff like that. Those are the same guys that's coming back to their faith right now, asking me, like about my journey. And, it's just crazy how it just turns around like that, because you the same guy that was laughing at me. You the same guy that was doing this. But now it's like you get to a certain age and your faith in Jesus, if you're a Christian, that's the only thing you got.
Yeah.
When you lonely, you ain't lonely.
Yeah.
You got Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when everybody going through that transition stage in life from if they going to school, from real to real life, from high school to real life, from college to real life, from sports to real life, it's like you gotta have that foundational structure.
I was watching this video prior to this interview, and Matt Rule, he spoke highly of you. He said one thing that stuck with me in the clip. He said, Vekedric's a guy who he'll give you his word and you'll see him acting it out. So when we're talking about integrity, like you said, Jesus being the ultimate example, integrity, not only with your words, but the way that you do things. Like if I say I'm going to do something, here's how I'm going to go about it. And it don't matter if persecution comes, like you said. So living in a world where there's so many things like reputation, Instagram following, whatever platform that our flesh aspires to be on, how can you kind of scale back and say, when you're walking for the Lord, you have to be willing to put those things aside in order to truly step into who God has called you to be?
I mean, I wouldn't say I put them aside, because it's a tool. And once I've been in business, I'm on business. Social media is just a tool. And like going back to my guy, Secretary Scott, for the kingdom. Like, for example, how people got close friends on Instagram, right? You know what type of people in the close friends. What's the trend? Well, I got all men in my close friends. You know what I put in my close friends? At least 3 times a week is worship song, me worshiping. Like that's everything for the kingdom. Like at first it used to be, me traveling, and then it went to, I'm finna really spread the word to these guys. These are guys that are my close friends that I, pay attention to. So I'm about to, I talk about the word in there all the time. And so just shaping that mindset and using those platforms for the kingdom. That's all it is. Because it is a distraction. Like I unfollow people every day. I see some of my timeline, I hit them. I don't want to see that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But also, I want everybody to see, like, okay, this guy's pretty consistent at what he does. But is he consistent in his faith? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing that I want people to see me as. They can make fun of me, but they gonna know, okay, V is, they're gonna give me their respect regardless because of my faith. And so that's how I try to leverage it. But far as just following through, being a man of your word, I've learned that from all my coaches, my dad, everybody. That's as a man, as a man of God, and you want a future family and you want a wife, your word is what you're gonna have. And I learned that really young, and so that's why, he said that those days at Baylor, like I'm up there, 5 a.m. first one in the building every day. Every day. I'm gonna watch the most film. They moved me to corner to safety because I'm the only one that knew the playbook like that. I'm not a safety. you know,
Yeah.
but I did it for the team.
Yeah.
But because I knew the plays, I take that through everything. That fidelity. You know, I had my ups and downs on my licenses, but got it done. I went there to get my licenses. Got it done. Now I'm in my next opportunity. You know, and so it's just following through what you said. You know, but it got to be. You have to have purpose with everything that you do. You know, you can't just be out here just drifting through life. You know, seeing it from a worldly view. You know, at Preston, what is all we talk about worldview versus Christ view. Like, you know, we're not following popular trends. We're doing what the word says, and that's what we're gonna do. Here's what it is. Like, this is what Jesus said we should do. This is what we're doing. No questions. And I feel like we're in an age where on social media, like they question everything about the Bible. It's like, dude, just do what it says. It
That's
says
real.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't understand. You know, like we make life so complicated
Right.
because we want to do what we want to do. And their user, God gave us free will, but He also gave us the Word of God, and that's what we're supposed to follow.
Yeah.
You know, with our will
Yeah.
to advance the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know, so that's that thing. And like I used to be, like I take my social media breaks, but for the most part, like I really just want to see that people see Jesus. You know, see my faith is big, and I got that piano there. I worship, post worship stuff all the time, hearing it here and now and again. So I just want people to, for sure, see he is a man of God.
So you mentioned you had about a year where you noticed like your walk with Christ started to like kind of slip off, right? During that year, what was the thing was there a particular moment that you saw in your life that you're like, man, this is not aligned with who I want to be and walking with Christ? Or how did you kind of navigate that particular season of your life?
And it was tough because I was making a lot of money. I'm traveling. I'm doing my thing, and still felt like I needed something. Like I can go here, I can buy this, but honestly, when I tore my ACL, yeah, set me down, and I'm like, like I'm living out here, made a lot of money, but I don't have no structure. Like I'm not embedded in the word. I don't go. I know God. I know God is with me, but I don't. I'm not in church. I I don't have that consistent mentorship that I would like. Because if you want to go somewhere, you have to be around the people that's where you want to go. And so for me, it's like I had to get better at my faith. I had to be around real men of faith consistently. And so going through the identity crisis, giving up football, that's basically what it was. I had to lean on the church. I had to lean on fellowship and getting back into the word like that. But yeah, once I've done it, went overseas twice, 3 times, 3 different countries, was going traveling all across the United States. Like none of that was fulfilling.
Yeah.
No purpose, It was just a lot of money that I ain't never seen before.
Yeah.
At one time,
Right. Yeah.
And so or every day I was trading. So I was making money. It's like, okay, I could just go do this. But it's like there was no purpose behind it. It wasn't for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Even though I started courses, I was teaching people how to trade, but I still wasn't doing it for the right things. And so once I hit that rock bottom with my ACL, I was like, okay, God really trying to tell me something. I'm about to go back to church.
Yeah.
And that's when I walked to Prestonwood on the first, I never told this story, but on the first day I went to Prestonwood, when I joined, I put a dent in my car. My Mercedes. It was hot. Like hot. Like I'm going to church, but God was humbling me about material things. I've been living pretty good. And I kept that dent. I have insurance. I kept that dent in there for a year. just to humble me every time I looked at it, because it was like I was doing the right thing, but God was really teaching me, you know, if you're gonna really go on this journey with me, you have to give up these worldly things. You're gonna have to stop getting attached to these things. And so that's what I did. And it's just crazy to see, because material stuff, I don't really care about it no more. I got my rings because these blood, sweat, and tears. You know, I earned these rings. You know,
Yeah.
people used to make fun of me to this day. Hey, I just won your Baylor rings till I graduated. You know, if I wouldn't have wore these rings, half of the conversations that I've had with affluent clients wouldn't even happen. Because they are curious, you know. Then, you know, that's why I'm in consulting, because conversation starters, you know.
Yeah.
And so it just really showed me just really how to be humble, and like these things are all temporary, but God is forever. And you know, I really give kudos to Preston, because they really shaped my adulthood in a way that it's supposed to go.
What would your financial, if I gave you 3 points or 3 things that you really would emphasize to a man of that age range, what would those 3 critical components be when dealing with finances to be a better stewardship for God's kingdom?
Number one, you have to give. You have to tithe. You have to give something. If you in the Christian faith, you have to give. And most wealthy people, in their financial plan, they have 10% giving regardless. That's a non-negotiable. If you can't give, you got to serve. You got to be a part of something with the church. Delayed gratification when investing. There's no get rich quick scheme. It's not there. The easy, the money come, faster it's gonna go. I learned that.
Yeah.
You know, day trading. I'm making tons of money, but I'm spending money just like that, because it took 15 minutes to make, $300. You know, and so delayed the gratification. No, it's gonna turn over. Invest in retirement. Um, and yeah, invest in retirement, and it's gonna work out. Just know you're not putting your money in an empty product. Like, it's gonna turn over and start having, crazy gains over the years. But if you stay consistent, you'll be good. So, and then the last one, I would say, there's purpose like in every penny. Don't just spend money just to spend it, like, because you can.
Yeah.
Like, that's why our culture is like behind, because we literally, like, I've been around many different cultures, and all their money has a purpose. Like, they just not out here. No, they're gonna make sure they have a structured plan and see where their money goes, and give them a budget every month to spend. And if they maximize that budget, we eating at home, we making it work, we're not going over that budget. Now, obviously, if it's emergency, something pop up. But as far as getting your bills paid, making sure the kids are right, making sure all the needs are taken care of, give yourself a budget and don't go above that budget. That's where a lot of people fail, because they don't have, like I said, purpose in every penny. Like, dude, stop spending.
Yeah.
You don't need that new shirt. You don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
when you look at all these billionaires and these wealthy people, you got it backwards. And I had to start really looking at that. When these shoes right here that I got on, these shoes 2 years old. You know what shoes I had before these? The same pair. Just bought them again.
Bottom again. Yeah.
These 2 years old. Probably about another pair of these shoes.
Yeah.
It's like that different.
Yeah.
I don't have to have the new and the latest anymore. I have my 5 dress shirts, 6 dress shirts, my 7 blazers, 4 pairs of pants, and like 3 pairs of shoes. I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And when you start treating your finances like that, it's like it's the same thing. That'll set everybody up for success. Really paying attention to what you're spending.
Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, if somebody was like, okay, what's the first step I should do? I realize that I haven't been spending my money and doing everything the right way, like you were saying. What's the first step? Like the easiest step anybody can do?
Seek mentorship with finances. Like everybody holds finances and dear to their heart.
Yeah.
Money dear to their heart.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people don't want to talk about the realness of their finances. And it's like, how are you going to grow in your finances if you don't want to talk about your finances? They want to get game on how to do it, but you got to really be honest with yourself and go and seek counsel to somebody that is or have done it and have I won't say just have a lot of capital, but it's disciplined with their money and learn from them. Like you can go to YouTube, you can do all of that, but you gotta have an accountability partner. You gotta be honest with yourself. God knows, God sees everything, but for that first step, man, I would say truly ask God and pray for someone that can you connect with, that can help you with your finances.
Yeah.
That can really guide you. Because, like I said, man, money is worldly too. We don't need to be attached to it. And that's where, like, my ability in relationship building, that's what I'm basically unraveling, making people comfortable with sharing their finances with me. You know, and so that's my purpose on why I'm in finances. And so I would say that'd be the best thing. It's like you can tell somebody, okay, hey, invest in this. They don't even know what investment is. They don't even know what ROI is. They don't even know the whole language of investing. So why would I tell them, hey, go invest in this product right away? I don't even know what your finances is. I don't even know, like, what do you want to do in life, you know? And so the first step I would just go say, seek that wise counsel, because at the end of the day, we are stewards, and that's what they teach at Prestonwood. You know, and I'm about to start teaching it as well about stewardship with your finances. Once you get that and be disciplined in that, everything else is gonna fall in.
What would your advice be to younger Vekedric? 8th grade, wrote the letter to Bailey. What would your advice be? Not just from an athletic standpoint, but now you being the man that you are right now, what would your advice be to him? And what would the encouragement be?
What I would tell my younger self is God has made me who I'm supposed to be right now. Because a lot of things that I went through, I had to go through. So I'm really having a hard time really thinking what I would tell my younger self, because everything that I went through is what drives me today. Like, I would say listen more, but I was listening, you know? It's not to my younger self, but it is. It's like you have to forgive a lot. Like, all the traumas you went through growing up, like, don't hold, like, you got to get rid of those things, you know, with family, you know? And I went through a lot of stuff growing up, and I didn't realize how much it affected me till I got older, you know? And so I would say to my younger self, forgive, because it's like the intentions and the heart that you have when you do stuff, motivated by the wrong stuff, you know, rather than, oh, I'm gonna do this because I'm the best at it. No, I'm gonna do this to prove this person wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but that's all because you ain't forgave them for what they did.
Right.
You know, and so that's what I would say, because, man, all my journeys, all the things that I went through, it definitely has shaped me to be where I am today. Like, I don't wish nothing was different in my childhood, because it shaped me here today. I mean, I won't say I wish, but everything happens for a reason, you know. And so I would just say just forgive, because I got to do it all the time now. You know, I wish I would have just, I probably didn't realize it then, but I had a lot of resentment and things that I didn't like. And the only thing I had to do was just forgive them. And so for young people out there that's going through something, you know, in their middle school days, high school days, just forgive that people in that time. Yeah. Because when you grow older, you're going to have to forgive them anyway.
Press apply to your starter, only way I spit fire. Ignite the way to get higher. Fight the waves and inspire the youth in ways that require Christ to save and shine brighter, so turn on the lamp.